This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs the Playbook, and I got another David, a super entrepreneur, chairman and CEO of the Hinghwa Lee Group. He is an expert in not only exotic cars, but jewelry, and really wanted to get into the aspects of buying and selling as an entrepreneur. David, welcome to the Playbook.
Hey, thank you, Dave, for having me.
Well, I was just saying that there's no better backdrop than 6 or 7 multi-million dollar Ferraris all in reds lined up behind you. That's
Yeah.
extraordinary. That's awesome. Well, I always tell people, they'll ask me how I pulled out of bankruptcy or the easiest way to actually make money. And I said, when I started meditating, the reason was the woman who told me I could raise my awareness. She told me I could learn when to buy or sell. And I think more than ever, understanding the exotic car business or the jewelry business, that is a skill set that you definitely need to have, or you're going to end up in the poorhouse. But if you do know that skill set, you'll end up with a line of Ferraris behind you. What are some of the key aspects of that learning curve of understanding when and how to know when to buy and what amount to buy at?
Right. Well, I mean, like anything, you really need to dive into it and understand the market, understand the product, understand the demand and supply at any given time. And when I kind of started, I started first with a passion because I was looking into buying a classic car. I ended up buying a 1965 Ferrari 275 GTS. But in the process of, like anybody, when you look for that car, you're going to do research, right? You're going to do research. You're going to see other cars, what they're worth, what the market, how it's going. And especially for a $1 million+ car, you're going to really consider, because in that consideration, you consider real estate, you consider the markets, stocks and stuff. You can invest in bonds, you can invest in all kinds of things because it's serious money to consider. So when I was thinking about cars, it was very much along the same line. Am I kind of buying in a what kind of market? Is it an up market? Is it does this have a history of performance, of appreciation? And so forth. But, just having the whole awareness of it. And so in buying that one car, which was really for fun, a hobby, to buy that one car, I understood a few things. One is that I thought I really found my goal, because what is something that I can enjoy looking at, I can enjoy engaging in, and it goes up in value because I found out it went up in value. And because I was looking through that for that one car, I also saw a lot of great opportunities, other cars that were available. And so I decided to really invest in it and start buying these other cars as well, knowing the market, knowing where it's at, knowing the history. And then I guess that in that 3 years, 5 years, it went crazy. I mean, it just doubled, tripled the value that I paid for it. So it was certainly a great investment and a great hobby.
And now we're sitting on, maybe a more insecure market, and you have, jewelry, exotic cars. How do you protect yourself against a down market if you have too much inventory?
Right. Well, because I've always bought my cost on the things that I buy, the product I buy, is always, I believe, where low enough that in a bad market, if I had to move it, I still wouldn't lose money. So I would say, even in the car's perspective, I think any of these cars I would today sell it and still make a little money. I wouldn't lose money. Actually, I probably make still real good money. But a lot of people that they might have bought it at different times as it was going up, you just buy where you know that it's going to be safe when you have to move it, and if not, you just hold on to it. Also, just hold on to it, because it will come back. When people get scared and they just sell it, panic when they sell it that time, that's when you just lose it, and that's where people like you and me can take advantage and get a good deal and buy it. That like right now, like it's happening right now. A lot of people are scared about the COVID. They're thinking about, okay, well, let's just dump the car. I don't know. I need the cash in case something happens. That leads for opportunity. And like right now, I'm looking at some opportunities right now to buy too. It's a weird period. This period is not really like a traditional recession. I feel it's more of a because it's COVID that happened during a kind of a prosperous economic time, and because it's government kind of initiated shut down, that kind of depressed the market. It's not really a naturally a depressed recession type of situation. So people still have money. I mean, once it was opened up and people can do business again, they start feeling confident. The stock's going up. People are buying. I mean, for me, my jewelry company, people are buying like crazy right now.
Yeah. And, speaking of which, all these things don't just happen overnight. And people look, you're a young entrepreneur who's very successful, but you started early and you put in a lot of long hours, research, failures, mistakes. Can you give me a little bit of insight on kind of that journey as far as when you started your first business and, building slowly but surely up to where you are today?
Sure. Well, it's a little bit of a long story. Of course, I'll try to make it condensed, which is my father started a manufacturing business, 1965, jewelry manufacturing business, and I went to school at USC Business School. I graduated. I came and joined the family business in 1990. So for me, as the second generation and taking over my family business and changing it, I've been in it for the last 30 years. I was kind of glad that when I got into the business, I started in the early 90s, 1993, when I opened my store. We were in wholesale and I changed it to retail, that it was in a recession. If you remember, it was a real estate recession. It was and I always believe you can make your business work during a recession. You can make it work anytime after that, because you know what it takes to do hard work. You know what it takes to be lean. You know what it takes to just tighten your belt and to operate. Because when business is good, when the economy has been good like it has in the last 5 years, anybody can do it. Anybody can make mistakes and it's covered and it's you're going to make money. But when you can survive during a recession, and we've had a number of recessions since then, it's the long run. It takes a lot of hard work, and a lot of young people today, when I speak to students at USC, because I'm on the board there and I go back and I speak to them, the concept of really what's working hard, what does that mean? Perseverance, what the perseverance and perhaps failing and picking yourself up, not giving up, keep going at it. That certainly has been a really important factor. And in keeping that integrity, for all these years, doing business with integrity, not seeing the opportunity sometimes and taking the shortcut or cheating somebody to make an extra buck. That to prevent yourself from doing that and keeping those standards. I think that's what's helped me a lot in my business journey. Those three, what I call pillars of success.
And one of the biggest questions, especially now entrepreneurs have, is about education. Obviously our educational institutions are changing extraordinary from online to in person. And then with over 50% of the people being freelancers and entrepreneurs in America now, and that trend accelerating because of the compressed uncertainty we're under, people, continually ask me, how important is education in college? And you're someone who, obviously thrives and respects the education. I'm sure your parents were like mine. It sounds like that your fetus wasn't fully developed till after graduate school. It wasn't a question whether you go to school or not. It was, when are you going to graduate? Right. And what is your perspective today on young entrepreneurs going to college, becoming educated?
Well, this is how my philosophy is in that, and I respect that not everybody can afford education. I know it's expensive. I know it intimately because my 2 kids are going to college right now, so I have to pay. But being that may, what I always think is, if you can pay for and buy or pay for to learn something that somebody can teach you. It's always good to pay and learn that, because when you're in business, there's a lot of stuff you can't pay to learn or to know. You just have to make a decision. You have to put your money at it and figure it out. There's a lot of unknowns. That part you're gonna be dealing with the unknowns. But what you do know that is a known fact that to how to or what you're supposed to do. You get paid to learn that. You don't have to try to reinvent the wheel and try to learn those things. And I mean, it's just going to cost you money, Like when I graduated, and Unfortunately, I wasn't a great student. There were certain things like entrepreneur class I was really engaged in. I really studied marketing. But I wasn't a finance guy or accounting guy or something like that. And I remember coming out of that, and when I started my business, there was a lot of stuff I didn't know in accounting or finance, which now I appreciate, and it's so important. But I had to pay an accountant to pay them per hour to tell me, or lawyers, or and bankers, and you're basically paid for it afterwards. Where I think at the end, if you knew those things in college, you wouldn't have to pay for it afterwards. You could just know them, and that would be something that doesn't have to occupy your mind too, because you have to occupy your mind on the risk assessment, on is it going to work or not, is you might as well use your energy on that than stuff that it's already known out there, you know what I mean, or what you're supposed to do.
And under that construct of investing in yourself, there's also the idea of saving. And, to play in the jewelry game and the exotic car game, you have to have the wherewithal for the downtimes, like you said, because if there is an asset that you had that, may not be able to be liquid or profitable at a certain time, I can tell, have taken that into account because the secular nature of exotic cars and watches and jewelry and how things move back and forth over decades and even centuries. You can see the historical analysis of certain luxury items of how well they do it. How do you plan that liquidity in order to put yourself in a secure position, a confident position where not only are you able to hold on to assets, but you're able to grab more assets when other people are selling with fear?
Yeah. A lot of young people, I feel with social media and everything, and with how it is, they want to achieve success very quickly. The first money they make, they want to go and buy a exotic car or something like that to feel good, to show that they're on par or what have you. And it's that is actually not the best scenario. I mean, for me, you see me with all these cars and everything, but I put in 30 years of working, hard, really hard, and sacrificing, and keep getting back up. I mean, for me, the business that I built, that I reinvested in, I had to make sure that was solid. It had enough liquidity, to ride through recessions or bad downturns. My family, make sure they're set up, And only at the end, when I feel like those things are all settled and stuff, do I start to treat myself to buy, these toys, which again is investment now. But I treat myself the last. I don't treat myself the first, as far as where I make some money.
Yeah, no doubt. And, through the journey of all those 30s of years, I'm sure you've made a few mistakes along the way, and there's many lessons that we've learned. What's one of the bigger mistakes that you've made, and what lesson did you learn from it?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot. I'm trying to think what's the one of of that.
I'm lucky because I can always just go right to bankruptcy, right? Losing over $100 million is like obviously an idiot. So most people don't have the significant mistakes, so they got to pick between like 10 minor ones.
Well, I always say if making a mistake is normal, it's part of the journey. It's a learning experience. Just don't make too big of a mistake where it's detrimental. Make ones that you can come back from. And so I never had really real detrimental ones, I guess I would say. But I do want to say that what has gotten me through it is perseverance. Patience and perseverance. If I didn't have patience and perseverance, I think I don't think I would be able to have rebound from some of those setbacks. And so you can't have an ego to say, okay, well, I failed and I can't go back at it, or I can't get up and start over. You have to have that mindset that it's the long game. It's not the short game. And you might have taken a loss right now and it's detrimental, but you got to stay with it, and you got to be patient. You can't rush it, and just keep at it, and it will come back. It will come back.
You know, it's funny that you talk about patience. I always say there's a few things, and you'll get this, that, you know, you're talking to young people and you inspire a lot of young people. You speak at schools and around the community to help young people in their entrepreneurial journeys, their life journeys. But there's a few things that I find very difficult to help young people understand. One would be, you know, having kids, right? You can never explain what it's like to have kids, or getting married, or getting old. That's another one. You know, you can say what you want, and I listen to myself. I sound like my father, and certain things that he told me, I'm listening to myself going, how come I didn't listen? He told me exactly what was going to happen, and it's not there. But patience is one that I try to teach. And I find that it is almost falling into the same bucket, that no matter what I say, it's just a matter of experience. Do you have any tips to help people become more patient?
I think it's believing that patience is really a, you know, the philosophy that it really works. Why it's important? Because it's just like a lot of people say, well, why should I work hard? I just work smart. You know, what they don't understand, is that there's a lot of smart people in the world. You can't control that part. You know, you're smart. I'm sure everybody is not going to work stupid on purpose. They're going to work as smart as they can. But there's going to be other people smarter in the room. My dad always say, which was a very wise man, but he says, you know, you can't control how you were born and how smart you are. But what you can control is how hard you work. And you can work harder to compensate or to offset the other people that are smarter. Patience is a little bit in the same way. You know, they have to believe that is patience is something that's going to help them be successful. And that's hearing, you know, a podcast like this, being educated about it. There are a lot of successful people saying patience is really important. Then could you change your mindset to believe it is, and so forth? Because I don't know if there's anything that can kind of just click and say, oh, okay, you know, I should do that. And especially young people are so urgent. They so have not have patience because they want everything now. And, you know, they want everything now, and they want it. It's so against their nature.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think everyone innately in human nature, we want things now, but now has come so quickly for the young people today. So like when we were kids, now took time. And I'll give you an example, because you and I both used the internet when it was 9600 baud modems and XT computers on DOS. And I remember how amazed people were that I could download, you know, legal cases and statutes in a matter of hours, you know, just text. And it took hours to download, you know, documents. And
Right.
people would thought, wow, that's so fast. You got it right now, because it took weeks in the books to do. And you copy the books on the copier and you highlight it, cut and
Right.
paste it. And what's so interesting is I try to explain to kids not to diminish their personal character, is that I believe all young people are impatient. They want it now. It's just what gets very scary is that when you're able to get, you know, your food, your banking, all of this within 5 minutes, right? Like without leaving your bed, right? And talk to your friends worldwide in China in full duplex color conversation. Now just is so much faster and sooner, that I think it's important that we put now into a context and allow people to understand that part of being young is part of being impatient. But if we bring out and raise the awareness that, hey, let's just realize that now is really fast, and some things still are on man-made construct, old school time, like hard work, that some things just take years to happen. And, you know, building a business doesn't happen like depositing a check. You
Right.
know, go
Well,
ahead.
Dave, like you said, I can see that. I can see why now is very much in the culture and of the young people. But I look at it this way. Now is certainly I'm amazed at how fast we can get things now. I mean, but we're the consumer. We pay for it, right? We pay for Amazon while it's here the next day. It's amazing. You know, it's so great. And but when you're making money, when you want to make money or start a business, that's not something you're buying. I mean, you're making that money, and that you have to have patience. That is not going to come any quick, and that, you know, or if it comes at all. So we got to know the difference. Yeah, if you're a customer, you're paying for it. Service can come quickly, but if you're trying to be the guy that's making money, that's not going to be as quick as you buying it.
Well, you heard it here. This is amazing advice and wisdom. You don't get those beautiful cars behind David Leigh by accident. I always say attention plus intention equal the coincidences that you want. And that's a beautiful coincidence happening behind you. And congratulations on all your success, David. And thank you for the
Thank you.
great lessons. This is Dave Meltzer with David Leigh here on Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.